If you watched my last video, you know I went through the Katie Beckett basic renewal process. And it was a lot more complicated than it needed to be. Today, I would like to make it easier for you. I'm going to walk you through the actual renewal application page by page. What to fill out, what to skip, and what to attach. Because this form is 16 pages and most of it doesn't even apply to you. Okay, let's get into it. Quick note before we get started. Georgia launched a brand new online portal for Katie Beckett members on April 15th, 2026. The portal is at katiebeckett.dch.georgia.gov, and it allows families to submit renewals digitally. Access is granted by the Katie Beckett office when your case is entered into their new system. So check your email for the invite or call the Katie Beckett office for more information. If you have portal access, you may be able to skip the paper form entirely. I finished my renewal process right before they went live, and I'll be doing a dedicated portal video when my full renewal comes up. But if you're doing a paper renewal right now, or you haven't received a portal invite, this walkthrough is for you. I'm Mary Ellen. I share real-life Georgia Medicaid content for families raising neurodivergent kids. Links to the Katie Beckett office, constituent services, and the new portal are all in the description below. And now I'm going to share my screen so you can see the forms up close and personal. This is Form 508, a general renewal form used across multiple Georgia programs, so SNAF, TANF, and Medicaid. Most of it has nothing to do with Katie Beckett, and so the Katie Beckett office instructed me to not fill out those sections. And so when I'm going through the walkthrough today, I'm going to tell you the sections to fill out and the ones that you can ignore. There's 16 pages total, but you do way less than that. And then at the end of your application, you'll be attaching whatever forms are appropriate for what you filled out when you are applying. So I'm using the form that I used for my children, and I just blocked out the areas that had personal information to keep their privacy. So you're going to skip this top part, that's for the office, and then you're going to write their name, date of birth, and social security number. So I have 2 kids. They told me that I could do one application and just put both of their information in these sections. And then I have their address. The mailing address is the same, so I repeated it. And then I put my main phone number, which is my number. And then it said other contact number. I put my husband's number. And then address is optional, but I put my address. And I always put that they can email and text me, but that's up to you what permissions you would like to give them. My preferred language is English, and I do not need an interpreter if an interview is required. So I checked no. And then I do not have a disability that requires communication assistance, so I checked no. And then I signed and dated. For this page, if you are getting someone to fill out your form, you probably don't need this video because you've hired someone that knows what to do. So you're likely going to be skipping this whole section that's talking about the authorized representative. And then you're going to go down to the area that says for Medicaid only, and it asks, do you expect to file federal income tax next year? That's going to be specific to your family. Our family submits taxes every year, so that's going to be a yes for us. And then, will you file jointly with your spouse? My spouse and I always file jointly, so I click yes, and then I put the name of my spouse. So this is going to be dependent on what you do. And then also here for letter C, it says, will anyone be claimed as a tax dependent on someone else's return? And I put no. All of our kids are on our joint return. Now, if there are different family situations and there are different people outside of the household that do claim your kids, then you're going to answer differently. This is just information about citizenship and social security numbers. And then you have this chart to fill out. So I list the children that have Medicaid first and give their information. So you put their first name, their middle initial, their last name, what ethnicity they are. We are not Hispanic or Latino, so I circled no. And then our race is white, so I put WH, which is according to the race codes at the bottom here. And then my child child is a male, and then I put their date of birth in the format that they have right here. So month, day, and the 2-digit year. And then they have self there, and then their social security number. Are you a U.S. citizen? We are, so we circled yes. And then does the mother of the child live in the home? I live in the home, so I circled yes. And then does the father of the child live in the home? My husband and their father lives in our home, so we circled yes. Do you want Medicaid? I circled yes because they get Medicaid. And then the same for my second child that also gets Medicaid, and I circled yes. Then I listed the rest of their siblings. And then for my daughter, she's a female, so F. So I'm putting the relationship to the Medicaid recipients. So she's their sister. And then all the rest apply. And do you want Medicaid? She does not qualify for Medicaid, so I circle no. I go to the next one. This is going to be my son. He's their brother. He also does not qualify for Medicaid, so I circled no. So then we go down to here, and this is me. I'm the female mother, and I'm a U.S. citizen. My mother does not live in my home, so I circled no. And my father doesn't live in my home, so I circled no. And then I do not qualify for Medicaid, so I circled no. And then my husband, it's the same. This next page for this chart, if you are not a U.S. citizen and you are a naturalized citizen or qualified alien or immigrant, you complete this chart here. This doesn't apply to us, so I just put a line and I moved on. Now, this section says Medicaid only, and it says, was anyone in your household in foster care at age 18? That was no for us. But obviously, if that's true for your family, you're going to click yes. And then if you have tax dependents that do not live in the home with you, please list below. I do not have any tax dependents that don't live in our home, so we just left it blank. I accidentally started answering this, but this says right here that's for SNAP and TANF, so you would just leave the rest of this form blank. And then question 5, for Medicaid applicants, does anyone have any unpaid medical bills for the last 3 months? We did not have any unpaid medical bills, so I clicked no. Then you're going to leave the rest of this blank. The rest is for SNAP and TANF. All of this page is still not for Medicaid, so you don't need to answer it. For page 8, for Medicaid only, so we're going to be answering these questions. Is anyone enrolled in health insurance now from the following? So I checked off Georgia Department of Human Services Medicaid, because that's what we have with Katie Beckett. And then also employer insurance. You named the insurance. I put that here on this line. And then the policy number, which I put on this line. Do you have any health insurance other than Medicaid? I checked yes because I do. And then if yes, send us a copy of your insurance card. So at the end of your application, you're going to have the front and back of your private insurance card. So for resources, for regular Medicaid, they like to know all the resources that you have, because depending on your resources, depends on if you're qualified for Medicaid, because it is income and resource based. Well, for Katie Beckett, resources only matter for the children. So I put my kids' names and I put have no resources in their name. And then that's all I did for this page. Page 9, employment. Does anyone in your household work? Yes, my husband does. If yes, list information of the employed person's pay from employment such as wages, bonus, and tips, and attach proof of all gross income received in the last 4 weeks. So I fill out this. I put the person working, which is my husband's name, his employer. I put his hourly pay that's on his paycheck. I put the hours per week, which is 40 for us. And then how often he's paid. He's paid bi-weekly, so that's what I put. And then I put the dates of when he was paid. So that was 2 dates because he gets 2 in a month. And then if there was any bonus pay and if there's any tips. So then at the back of my application, I attached 2 pay stubs to cover the 4 weeks. Is anyone currently on strike? No. And then for Medicaid only, it's asking about your health insurance. So you just look on your pay stub and it gives this information there. So it's asking for health insurance. I put the amount and then I put that it's every 2 weeks. And then for vision insurance, the amount every 2 weeks. Dental insurance, the amount, and every 2 weeks. For SNAP and Medicaid, has anyone stopped working? No. So since we've applied, no one has stopped working. Has anyone started working? No. That's for us. But if you have started working and you have income, you would put that information. Self-employment. So the Medicaid office did say to include employment information. So I did include this self-employment section. So I answered with my name, and then my business is not incorporated. So I said no. I do have expenses. So I put yes. And then I put some of the expenses that I have. And then it says to provide proof for self-employment expenses. So I had just done my taxes before I had applied, so I was able to attach my Schedule C self-employment tax form to the back of this for proof. And then, does anyone in your household receive money from contributions, Social Security, SSI, VA, child support, unemployment, retirement, or any other income? And the answer is no for us. And then for dependent care costs, do you pay for the care of a dependent child or a disabled adult household member? So this is if you work and then you pay someone to care for your kids. That is not the case for me, so I put no. And then it says, do you have transportation expenses? This is in relation to if you have someone that is caring for your kid and then you're paying for their transportation also. So this is no, and no, none of this applies to me. Obviously, if this does for you, you would fill it out. I was told to skip the shelter information, and we have no child support information, so we skipped page 11. If the answer is yes for the child support, you would fill out this chart right here. Page 12, this is not required for Katie Beckett, so you would skip this page. These are your rights, so you would want to review your rights and then go to the next page. Again, continue to read. And then we're on page 15. For here, it's asking for voter registration information. I just put I do not answer it, but this is in relation to your kid. It doesn't apply to them because they're not voter age. And then you have 3 sections. This first section is where I signed. It's for Medicaid only. Sign here when the applicant, member, or legal guardian is completing the form. So that was me. So I signed and I dated. This is for if you have a legal representative that is filling out the form for you. They would sign here. But if you're watching this video, this likely does not apply to you. And then this is for SNAP and TANF only. So you would not fill out this section. And then this is a reminder for at the end. What I filled out, I needed to include my insurance card, the front and back, 1 month worth of pay stubs, and a Schedule C, which was my self-employment tax form, since I am self-employed. And then you mail to Centralized, Katie Beckett, Medicaid Team, 221 Beaver Ruin Road, Suite 150, Norcross, Georgia 30071. This is the address. They used to have a P.O. box. That P.O. box is no longer in use, so make sure you're doing it to the physical address. And now I'm going to go back to the main screen so I can leave you with a few tips. Okay, I hope that walkthrough was helpful for you. The Katie Beckett office is super behind. They're short-staffed. It's advantageous to keep that receipt at the post office to make sure you can track that package and make sure it landed in the building. As I shared in my experience video, it took them about a month to even process my application, and they promised me if it was in the building, they would eventually get to it. And they did. And so I would recommend checking in with them frequently to see if they have processed it. The best time to call Katie Beckett office is 8 a.m. They still might not answer, but you're more likely to get a call back if you call around that time. Your coverage should remain until they have a determination. And they should backdate the coverage to whenever it's shut off, if it does shut off. So if you do have any issues during this process with your Medicaid number becoming inactive, my suggestion is to call the Katie Beckett office every morning at 8 a.m. If you're not able to get a hold of them within a week, my suggestion would be to escalate it. And this is what I usually do that has worked pretty well in the past for me. I go to medicaidgeorgia.gov. You can see the URL here. I scroll all the way to the bottom. How can we help you? And you can do an online form, send a message. I click on that and it contacts DCH, which is Constituent Services. And I fill out this form and I submit it. Usually by the next day, I hear a call back from them. With my most recent Katie Beckett renewal, I actually had to contact them twice before I heard back from someone, but I did eventually. So I'll continue to do follow-up videos as I apply for Georgia resources and do the renewals. If you have some questions, put them in the comments and I can answer them there. Or if it's something for a new video, I can do that as well. And I'm Mary Ellen Yates, and this is Growing Together, Neurodiversity at Home.